Okay, here's my review of most recent Doctor Who episode, the God Complex, which I have watched twice. Once for the plot and once just to see all the little things that I missed the first time, because it does live up to its title, at least the third word in its title, in that it's got a lot of subtleties that are so easy to miss the first time. The first time it's just a bizarre experience. It's just surreal. It's demented, and I think that's a good way to kick off a very unusual Doctor Who episodes. Have something as bizarre as a bunch of people in a hotel. Another thing that I'd like to mention is how different it is to write I think it's Toby Whitehouse's how different it is to his previous work, School Reunion and Vampires of Venice, because whilst the first two are to some degree very similar to each other, um, alien invasion, not race based on an animal with the bats and the fur as case, and the fish people in the second. Um, I suppose he's done it again, but this time, unlike the first two, he's got it much more concentrated on just a few select characters, just having a few people in a, in in a large, well, I say large, but also confined claustrophobic space, and I think that works incredibly well. It suits his talent so much more because he is a very good character writer. I think what makes School Reunion so superior to Vampires of Venice. I liked Vampires of Venice, but I didn't love it as much as School Reunion. It's because of the focus on Sarah Jane Smith in that story and Rose and Mickey. That was easily why we all enjoyed watching School Reunion. The plot and the other characters didn't quite live up to all that, but no, but he's a very skilled character writer. You only have to watch his series Being Human to see that, and I think he's really mastered it here, having a few different characters, all with unique personalities. He's there's also a bit of a classic slasher element to it, of in a sense, or at least there's a very old school horror vibe to it. In few bunch of people are thrown together, they have no idea why, and they start getting bumped off one by one. It's classic horror stuff, and that was what I loved about it the first time, the story of it. The second time, and this is why it was so easy to miss this the first time, but you enjoy it second time. It's the cinematography, the directing of the whole episode, how it so easily gets off the bizarreness of it, the angles of the corridors, the stretching out of corridors, even the way the moment of the Doctor walking across one corridor, the next, and then impossibly walking across another very next millisecond, practically, in the opposite direction. I thought that was just fantastically handled. It was very basic. Could have come across as Scooby Doo, but it actually kind of, I think the setting certainly helps, is that it kind of comes across as unsettling. Um, the uh, the random moments of the people being scared one moment and then, no, not scared, terrified one moment and then becoming hysterical the next. I think that every is shot, especially in the hotel scenes, has just been done meticulously. It's done to such terrifying effect that it does. It's easily more terrifying than Night Terrors was a couple of weeks ago. And that's something I'm very glad about. Even the dolls in this episode were scarier than the dolls in Night Terrors. I think that was my biggest problem with Night Terrors. It just wasn't scary enough. Here, it was terrifying. We also dealt with issues of faith, of what could be defined as faith. That even atheists can have some degree of faith. If not that anyone was labelled explicitly an atheist, but conspiracy theories and wanting to be controlled by others. All these are not exactly religious kinds of faith, but separate kinds of faith, and who would need faith, why they would need it, their kind of personalities. I think that was very, very well handled. There's probably a ton of other things that I'm overlooking too, but also Matt Smith's performance, fantastic as ever. He just keeps proving week after week why he's just so much better at the subtleties of the Doctor than David Tennant was. I liked David Tennant's Doctor for the emotion, but the subtle moments, that moment when the Doctor is talking to I'm trying to think of his name. It's not in as the character's name. It's certainly not David Williams in makeup, but I'll just go with that. David Williams in makeup. When he's really up close and really, really sizing him up, and all David Williams can do is just nod quietly and be scared for his life, and it's so brilliantly convincing. The Doctor gives off so much power in this voice. It's here, and it's just through talking barely above a whisper. I think that is definitely one thing I love so much about Smith's Doctor. Why he's really got a handle on all that subtlety. I think the writers have got a handle on the kind of Doctor that Smith's Doctor is, because that's not a moment that I can imagine David Tennant's Doctor doing quite as well. I also just like to comment on the ending of the Doctor breaking Amy's faith. I kind of saw it coming the moment the Doctor said mentioned that it was faith that was the key. In fact, I have been thinking of a very, very similar moment in another Doctor Who story for quite some time. I don't want to give it away, but then again, you'll probably work it out barely a couple of episodes in. But the Doctor, specifically a Seventh Doctor, has done something very similar once. He has broken a companion's faith to save her life. I found the way it was done with the Seventh Doctor more emotional, but the way it was handled with the 11th, it was still a bit emotional, but it was more disturbing. And the thing is with the 7th Doctor is that you could tell it was a lie, but with the 11th talking to Amy, saying he was vain, that he wanted to be adored, there is absolutely no indication this time that he could have just been lying. And that's a very disturbing, heavy reason, really, that the Doctor doesn't take companions with him for friendship, for someone to help him. No, it's the fact that he's a vain old man wishing to show off to everyone that he's clever. I mean, we've seen him say it in the first episode of the series, The Impossible Astronaut, saying, "I'm being clever and no one's paying attention to me. What's the point in having you all?" Then it was funny because you could think he was just joking about it. But now, when he was telling Amy and crushing this heroic image she had out of him, I thought that's a moment that just gets more disturbing the more you think about it. Which leads me to to the ending of the Doctor leaving Amy and Roy behind, I wasn't shocked so much as surprised by that moment, and it didn't tug at my heartstrings. It didn't bring tears to my eyes. The final scene of him alone in a TARDIS did, but him saying his goodbyes to Amy and Roy, it didn't tug at the heartstrings. But then, um, it, I have no problem with that. I'm not saying I don't like the emotional departures, but I think it's a very, very fitting ending for Amy and Roy to just, for the Doctor to just leave them to get on with their own lives. Because I think the one thing I've been liking about this series, this second half of the series in particular, with episodes like The Girl Who Waited and A Good Man Goes to War, let's be honest, it's been building towards this moment for very, very long, for quite a while anyway. The fact is that it's dangerous in the TARDIS. We've always known that, but it's gotten to points where it's deeply shaken both the Doctor and his companions and affected them hugely psychologically, like last episode. And it's just really been building up to just leaving the Doctor. It was just a choice. It's of either them leaving him or him leaving them. And I think it's a bold move, an incredibly bold move for the Doctor to do that, because there are very, very, very few instances, not just in the new series, I mean across the entire series, of the Doctor just letting his companions go. So I think that was a nice, unusual ending to have. I'd say I'd give this episode 8 out of 10, or maybe even 9 out of 10, just because it was made so well. Not an emotional ep, but definitely a hugely scary, at times terrifying and disturbing ep. Full of subtleties, both in directing and writing, which I absolutely love. And just, I think it's an ep that will just get better the more times I watch it, and I always love watching episodes like that. So, yeah, I'd say I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Easy 9 out of 10. Later this week, I might review a couple of Big Finish stories. Certainly I need to review a couple of Classic Who stories. I haven't reviewed Day of the Daleks Special Edition DVD yet. That I need to do as soon as possible. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Thanks for watching. Bye.